Okay, welcome everybody. It is 6 o'clock, and I know that because I can hear the beautiful sound of the bells in Breslin Tower, and I know you guys miss hearing those. But I want to go ahead and get started because we have a full evening tonight, and it's just so awesome to spend this time with you all. And I want to just thank you for taking the time to be here tonight out of your busy schedules, I'm sure. My name is Susan Askew. I'm class of 86. I'm Associate Vice President for Alumni Parent Programs, and we are trying to find ways to stay connected with you all. And I wanted to tell you about the idea for tonight is we typically do something similar like this when we have the Parents Council meetings. And after we had that a couple of weeks ago, I thought, oh, I think our alums might enjoy this too. And so I called on my trustee colleagues, and they all were happy to be with you guys tonight. And I hope that you will find what they have to say informative, and it just kind of reconnects you with Swanee. So what is going to happen tonight is many of you submitted questions tonight, and some of them are unrelated to any of these topics, and so we'll see how it goes. And I may be able to sneak some of those answers in, like somebody asked what the weather was like, and it's just beautiful. I hate to rub that in, but it is one of the most beautiful springs I can remember, with the wildflowers and everything starting to bloom, and the students are running around campus, and it's hanging out on the lawn. It's just such fun time, and we miss seeing you all, and we cannot wait to be there with you. But so the questions that you submitted, we will get to those, but if you see below, there's a Q&A feature. If you're on a computer anyway, it's down at the bottom, and you can submit your questions there, and we will be able to see those and get a question if you didn't have time to ask one ahead of time. But real quickly, before we get to our awesome panel, I just wanted to give you a little bit of update from the Alumni Office. There are 44 days left in this semester, and just saying that is amazing because we have made it all the way through. And this has been such a wacky year in so many ways, not just with COVID, but we were welcoming a new vice chancellor and have not been able to have him get out and meet you, or you to meet him. And I can't wait for you guys to meet each other, because I think that will, everybody's going to click when we all get to be together. And then, some of the nationwide topics have made it here to the mountain, as far as racism. And I know many of you probably have heard some of it, but the point I want to make is that there have been a lot of positive things resulting from that. The students have just united behind anti-racism. They're sending the vice chancellor notes. The fraternities and sororities are holding events, and the athletes are marching in anti-racism. And one of their marches happened, they had it scheduled, and on that very day and time, it was the most torrential downpour of rain that you could imagine, but they still held the march, and it was pretty impressive. But anyway, it's really sparked a lot of good things on campus that will result in some really positive things. So I just wanted to say that. The other thing I want to say, if you have not heard, is because of COVID, how we've been holding reunions in June, we didn't feel like we could fully plan to have it in June this year. However, we will hold reunions in the fall back at homecoming this year. And so if your class year ends in 0 or 5 and you missed your reunion this past June, or 1 and 6 class year endings, we'll all be celebrating, and it's going to be so fun because we'll be ready for sure. So I just wanted to let you guys know all about that. And I'll try to get to the questions as we go. But first, I'm ready to introduce the panel. Are you guys? Fantastic. All right. I think I will start with, because it starts in alphabetical order, admissions. I'm not going to continue to go in alphabetical order, but I'm going to start with Leanne Backlund, and she is the Vice President for Enrollment and Financial Aid. And many of you had questions, and she has seen those, and she is going to give us an update. There is some good news out of the admission office, and I am going to turn it over to Leanne.
All right. Thank you, Susan, and good evening. I am sorry we're not together in some city or you're not here on the mountain with us. It has been the strangest year for all of us, but it's great to be at this point, and I'm so proud of our students who have worn their mask and been tested every week and now are getting vaccinations. So that's really exciting. And as you might imagine, our work in recruiting has really changed drastically. And my hat is off to my team. Those who are young and really, they just dove right into a virtual recruitment program, and we've made it work. What we're questioning now is how do all the virtual activities, how will they translate into deposits? We are open for visits now for admitted students and juniors, but on a very small basis, just to keep everyone safe. So I want to begin, as Susan mentioned, our new Vice Chancellor. Anytime there's change in leadership, there's going to be different priorities and different goals. So Vice Chancellor Brigady provided 3 goals for the Admission and Financial Aid Office. One, the most important goal to him is for us to raise the academic profile to become more selective. So we're really reading applications, looking at academic profile as the first priority. The second goal is to increase underrepresented minority students, to build Swanee's ability to respond to changing demographics and live into our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the third, which everyone has, is to increase net tuition revenue so we can sustain meeting full need initiative that was put in place last year. So we've worked this year to really begin seeing movement on these priorities, but moving on all 3 at once isn't likely to happen. But my hope is that over a 5-year period, we'll begin to see changes and be more in line with Vice Chancellor Brigady's priorities. As we reviewed applications, we read with an eye towards his first priority, to raise academic profile. And fortunately for Swanee, we saw another record year in applications, and we now have over 5,100 applications for a class size of 450 to 475. That range is where we're targeting. So just to give you an idea of how the academic profile has increased, in the GPA, which to me is the best indicator of success, this year admitted pool, not the deposits because it's too early to tell what that will be, but for those students that we've admitted, their average GPA is a 3.99 on a 4-point scale. And that compares to a 3.92 final GPA last year and a 3.87 the year before. We did see more test optional applications this year, but 66% of the universities and colleges in the country were test optional this year. So it's sort of hard to say how the test scores played out. We are seeing an increase in the SAT average, but again, with more test optional, I'm not sure that that's, we're really comparing apples to apples. So we have been admitting with an eye on increasing academic quality. And what that does mean, we may see a fall off in yield because these are the students who have so many options to choose from. So this is what's keeping me up at night. I do want to say the coaches have been, once again, great partners with my team and great recruiters. 25% of our admitted pool are recruited athletes. And as of yesterday, over 40% of our deposits are recruited athletes. That'll level out to about 35 to 36% of the incoming class. If last year, the last few years are an indication. So at least 35% of our class will be recruited athletes. So the coaches have been such great partners. And I know Mark is on here, and I just want him to hear that they've been great to work with. Today, you know, my hair is getting a little wider by the day as we are marching towards May 1. But today we're running a little behind in our deposits compared to last year. But we're ahead of the previous 2 years. So last year was sort of that anomaly. When we shut down last March, 80% of our admitted students had already visited campus. Clearly that hasn't happened this year. So I think that's one reason, that and the higher academic profile, but I think that's one reason that we are running behind. So we currently have 311 deposits. The last time I hit refresh on Slate, and that's compared to 340 last year, 281 in 2019, and 261 in 2018. So I'm just trying to keep track on all of these numbers. I know there were some questions about financial aid. I don't have firm numbers because that's so in flux. I know we are seeing quite a few appeals, financial aid appeals, even though we're meeting full need. COVID is really taking a toll on family resources. FAFSA, those students who have filed a FAFSA, that number is up. And so we're hearing from families who just need a little more, both incoming and our current students. So some of the challenges we are facing include the virtual experience and the fact that the majority of our admitted students have not visited campus. And you all know seeing this place is so important. Challenges to compete for students with higher academic indicators will be tough. Challenges, I think, you know, and it's just, we don't know yet, but will we see a dip in yield given the current racial slurs and activities on campus? And what the students and families, those who are not asking questions, are the ones that worry me about the environment. Because I think, as Susan said, there's some great things that are happening because of all of this. The demographic cliff is coming. You may have read about this, 2025, 2026, when we'll have 15% fewer high school graduates. But I think COVID has really sort of accelerated that. And what we've seen, not just at Swanee, but nationwide, fewer first generation students and lower income students have applied for college this year and have completed the FAFSA. So that's a real concern among all colleges across the country. So I do think that Susan's asked, do I have any predictions? My only prediction is that it's going to get harder, and we must rely on the extended Swanee family to help us, whether it's alumni Arcadians, whether you're willing to make phone calls to admitted students, write notes, send emails. And if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll get Maria Waters in touch with you. So just the last bit of news from admissions. On January 4th, I announced that I'll be retiring from Swanee at the end of 2021. It has been the honor of my career to serve as the Dean of Admission and aide over the last 11 years, and working as an assistant, associate, and director for 20 years between 81 and 2001. So the 31 years at Swanee in the admission office, it's really shaped me as an admission professional. And thanks to so many of you for your help over the years, and we'll continue to be asking for that help. My colleague, Lisa Burns, she's sort of my second associate dean. She's also retiring after 12 years in the office. So there are some big changes in Fulford. But, you know, I feel so incredibly fortunate. We are leaving such a talented team to continue our good work and important work. And there is a national search underway for my replacement. And I hope the new dean loves Swanee as much as I love Swanee. So, Susan, that's my update.
Fantastic. I know admissions is always something our alums find interesting, and I hope after tonight that people will not only feel reconnected with Swanee, but after hearing from you all, maybe see ways that they can help. I always hear people saying, how can I help? How can I help? And I know admissions is one way, by sending great people our way. And maybe if you're in a location that isn't somewhere that your staff members make it to very often, that alums can sometimes step in and almost feel like an extended staff to you. So thank you. And I know I speak on behalf of everyone that we're going to miss you so much. Your reputation in the admissions realm is unmatched, and you're
Thank you,
kind of
Susan.
a rock star. So we will miss you.
All right,
But thank
thanks.
you. And I didn't clear this with the panelists, but I think they will stick around in case there are questions. Is that right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and Susan, there was a question, I think, in the ones submitted about diversity and international students. So we saw just a slight decrease in our international applicants, which I was surprised it was not greater. And our biggest drop was in students, applicants from China. No surprise there, really. And the deposits of international students, we currently have 15 who have deposited for the fall compared to 19 this date last year. So we're not too far off in international. And with students of color, domestic students of color, sort of a work in progress. I was just on another event called Perspective and thinking about diversity. So we had a lot of our students of color on that event with some other staff members. So that's definitely a work in progress.
Great, thank you. All right, I'm going to lay out the order for the rest of it. I'm going to call on Whitney Franklin next, and then I'll go to Kim, and then I'm going to leave Mark for last because there were the most questions for him, and I want you guys to stick around. So Whitney, thank you for being here. Whitney is the director of the Swanee Fund, and she is going to tell us all about the news on that end of things and how they're doing with fundraising and maybe another opportunity for alums to step up and help. So Whitney?
Thank you, Susan. Yes, I'm Whitney Franklin, the director of the Swanee Fund. I have been at Swanee since 2012. Absolutely love this place. I'm not a graduate, but very honored to be able to work for the Swanee Fund. I just want to kind of remind everybody what the Swanee Fund is. We rebranded a couple years ago. When I first started, the Swanee Fund was only considered what we call our unrestricted gifts. And each year we do raise around $4 million of unrestricted gifts. These are still extremely important. This is one of the reasons that our university, I think, was able to handle COVID better than a lot of other universities. And it's because every year we have so many people that still step up and give to our unrestricted, and we're able to be nimble with these dollars and pivot when needed. And that was one of the things that really, you could really see a difference in Swanee with some of the other universities last year, is that we raised around $4 million. Since we kind of reconstructed the Swanee Fund, we have brought in also restricted giving. So if you're giving to YSR, if you're giving to the arts, if you're giving to internships, which you'll hear from Kim later, any of those are also counted and celebrated within the Swanee Fund. So it has just helped us to better collaborate with what I consider our internal partners and package our ask to you, to the alumni, in a more concise and better way. Also, we just want to make sure that everyone knows that in the Swanee Fund, we have priorities. You see those on our giving forms. But really, we just want the donor to know that any gift that you make is very important, whether it's to unrestricted, whether it's to arts, athletics, to wellness, whatever it is. Our biggest goal here at the university is to get the best students on campus and to retain those students. So regardless of if it's a $5 gift or a $500,000 endowment, your gift and your support truly matters. So just want to say thank you on that front and kind of give you an update. Each year we raise anywhere between $7 and $9 million. And that's money that, again, can be spent within the year when it comes in. That includes all gifts except for your endowed gifts, your capital gifts, and your bequest. So anything else that's raised at the university is given through the vehicle of the Swanee Fund. And with that, last year we did end up at around $7.7 million, and that was from right over 8,300 donors. So to me, that number speaks volumes. We have around 8,700 donors each year, But out of all of those, the Swanee Fund is touched by 8,300 of you. So I just want to say thank you. You make my job much more fun and much easier than a lot of directors that I talk to. And a lot of people ask, how do you do it? I don't, you do. I put it out there, but if it wasn't for the Swanee alumni, we would not be where we are today. We would not have the future, to look forward to like we do. So again, I want to say thank you. Another thing that I want to share is that last year when we went home about a year ago, we had Tiger Tuesday planned. And Tiger Tuesday, as many of you know, is our single giving day. It's our largest fundraising day each year at the university, and this will be our 5th year. But last year we came home, we had the pandemic, and we decided to pivot and push it back a little bit. During that time, one of the things that we were able to do was to launch an emergency fund. And again, I was just really overwhelmed. We put that out there, and within 2 days, you guys had raised $100,000. And that was able to go to students that had travel expenses and shipping their items home, and people that couldn't get home, and then also students who their financial situation changed at home and they needed that money immediately. And it just made me very, very proud. Not that I wasn't before, but it made me very proud and really reminded me what we're here for. We're here for those students. So just want to say thank you. I know that COVID has been difficult, but also I think that it was one of the brightest points in my Swanee career. Not that I'm going to get emotional about that, but anyways. So again, thank you very much. One thing that I want to talk about too is our Cornerstone Program. This is something that we launched a few years ago. It's with the idea that you're giving at the Swanee Fund donor level. You're not quite ready to endow a scholarship yet. These are funds that you don't have to wait for the spinoff from the endowment, which those are still very important, but these are what we call spendable scholarships. So we have quite a few people that have committed to give $5,000 a year for 4 years. And with that, we work with financial aid, and they are able to give that money to a student. You are matched with that student. They'll be in communication throughout the year, and it's really made a huge impact, not only on the donors, but also on the students to realize how they got here, where that money comes from. And I think that that's an important part. But I'm proud to say that you guys have raised over $2.5 million in that program, have raised and pledged that much, which is amazing and very important, especially when we're looking at the full need initiative. So anybody's interested in that, feel free to contact me and we will definitely get you set up. The last thing that I want to talk about, if I can share my screen, let's see here, is Tiger Tuesday. So like I said, each year we have our annual giving day. And this year, it's very important, like always, but I feel like especially this year with the budget hit that we have taken through the COVID process, to all come together. This has been one of the most fun and successful days year after year. And so it is actually on Tuesday, April 13th. So just coming up next week. So I invite all of you to make a gift that day, to share the campaign. And then there's a place where you can do a personal plea video, tell your friends and family, and it's also good for prospective students when they fall into these to see why you came to Swanee and why you give back to Swanee. And again, there are tons of ways to volunteer through the Swanee Fund, and we are always looking for people. And we are all happy to talk to you, but just want to say thank you for making my job as easy as it is and as fun as it is. And I like to brag on the alumni of Swanee. So thank you.
Great. Thank you for that, Whitney. So can you unshare your screen?
There you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Whitney. And you are a natural in your job. And I know you work very hard. And I could tell you got a little emotional there.
Good.
So I know it means a lot to you to have the support of the alumni. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Next, we are going to hear from Kim Heitzenrater, and she is the director of the Career Center. And she is purple, blue, purple through and through. She is Mrs. Swanee, and we are so fortunate to have her. And so I'm going to let her talk about all the exciting things that she is doing over there at the Career Center. Kim?
Thank you. And I'll say, fun fact is, Susan and I are most often confused for each other of like any people on campus. People talk to me about their alumni needs. And anyway, I'm sure they talk to her about internship needs. So, and I also saw that Brown Patterson is on, and I want to say happy birthday, Brown. I'm so glad that you're here. This is a nice way to spend your birthday with 100 of your closest Swanee friends who you can't see. I am going to, just as Whitney did, also share my screen, just so there's a little bit of something to look at while you hear. So you may or may not know that the Princeton Review ranks schools on all kinds of things. And some of the lists you really don't want to be on, like bad food, or but other lists you do want to be on. And so we have been recognized as number 20 best alumni network out of the whole nation. And then number 15 best school for internships, and number 15 best career services. And I am very proud of that recognition. I'd had no clue how it happened, but I think it happens because our students rave. They take this survey and they rave about the experience that they have at Swanee. Every day we teach students and preach to them to use the Swanee network. And I know that there are so many alums every single week who take time out of their busy days to share advice, connections, that sort of thing with students and with fellow graduates, but especially with students. And I just want to say that does not go unnoticed, and we really appreciate it. So I want to give you a little update on how things have gone this academic year. Honestly, except for the fact that everything is remote and virtual, we have not missed a step. And students are still engaged. They're engaged in coming to appointments. They are engaged in applying for internships and doing job searches and getting accepted to, almost every school that they applied to for graduate school, achieving fellowships that are very prominent and competitive across the country and around the world. So life has kind of gone on. And every appointment I have with a student, and I see, I'd say probably 10 or more students a week, I ask them, how are you doing? How's your semester? How's your week? And the comments that they make sound just like the comments that they made pre-pandemic. Oh, I've got 2 papers. Oh, I'm kind of stressed about my work. But they are still having a Swanee experience and getting career ready and applying for what happens after Swanee and during the summers is very much part of that. They have not put it on pause just because of the pandemic. So I mentioned in the first slide that the internship, the prominence that we have with internships and with the network. And so I just wanted to let you know that in our database this academic year so far, there were 360 internships and 615 jobs that we have because of a Swanee connection. So I think that those numbers, and they're about half of our overall total post, the fact that half of them come from a Swanee connection, I think there are the numbers. There's the proof of what I just said a few minutes ago. Also, to bring you up to date, Whitney mentioned internship funding, and we are so grateful for it. We have around 50 now endowed funds that deliver funds, reward the spending, the earnings, sorry, I'm not a math person, every single year for us to award to our students in stipends, both for internship opportunities and research opportunities. And things have crept back up to pre-pandemic levels. And it looks like to the 170 students who applied, that thanks to all of the donors who have given to endowed funds, who give through the Swanee Fund, who set up Cornerstone internship funds that we will award probably over $500,000 for this summer for students to go pursue those opportunities. You may be interested to know that a lot of offices and organizations are going to allow students to come back and be there in person. So where last summer, we insisted that our funding would only go to virtual opportunities or remote opportunities. This year, we're okay. We think our students have learned how to live with the virus successfully. A lot of them are going to be vaccinated by then. So we're okay with our money funding in-person experiences if the organization will allow them. I also just want to say about internships, the program is where it is because of Melissa Webb. She has done just an amazing job. She's been at Swanee for 21 years with a few, times away to go do other work, but she has built this program from when she first started the job. There were 10 internship sponsors, and now there are over 150, which I call exponential growth. I think we can all agree that is exponential growth. And she has stewarded that. She stewards the process every year of awarding all these stipends. She announced today, retirement is going around. She announced today that she is retiring at the end of this academic year. So it is hard to imagine doing this work without her. Our internship sponsors will miss her incredibly. Our students will miss her. I will miss her probably most of all. And I'll stop talking about it now so that I don't get weepy, but she is the one who has built this program, and we are so grateful for her. So some things changed, because of the pandemic, and it allowed us to change some of the ways that we deliver programs. So we pivoted quickly to Zoom to all of our events. We did not miss a step, and started in March and have gone on probably almost every single month. We've added other resources along the way. I thought you all might find it interesting just to see one of the resources that we provide for students. So this is our learning management system on campus, and I'll scroll quickly to the top and then slow down. So you can see this content. So students have access to this in the same platform where they have information about all their classes. They can access this information for career readiness. So no matter what hour of the day or night they decide, I need to know something about that, they can come here. So far, over 500, last time I looked, students have quote unquote enrolled in this course. And so you can just see some of the topics. We took basically about 100 pages of content and broke it down by bite-sized chunks. And so I just thought that would be interesting for you to know and kind of see behind the scenes, things that you can't see, especially for those who are also parents in addition to being alums. And then I'll also show you a new page, our outcomes.swanee.edu, which brings up this first destinations page. So last year obviously was very challenging for anyone who worked. The ways we worked changed. Many businesses had to let people go. Businesses that had made offers to students or organizations had made offers, had to rescind those offers. So things were different, but the news is not all bad. And we just have released the news on where the graduates from the class of 2020 landed. So you can see that tracking from 2018, the number who were still seeking by the time we stopped collecting the data in December was 7. In 2019, it was only 5. In 2020, it was 47. But 210 of them went straight to work by December, and 53 went to grad school, 25 achieved fellowships. And then you can just scroll down through this page and view it at your leisure to see all the ways that, we track where they go, where they move across the country. Tennessee was the very popular spot for this class, but it's been Tennessee for a while. You can see across the country, across the world where they moved, fellowships, employers, and graduate schools where they have attended by, type. So I want to share some news too, that looking forward, we are going to have a new home in fall 2021. We are going to be in the heart of campus. So if you look at Carnegie, those two sets of windows to the left of the front door on the main floor, those will be the Career Center, and the back side of the building, same two sets of windows. There'll be a conference room in the middle. There will be other departments on this floor, and then upstairs will be politics, economics, and philosophy. And so the Babson Center will be at the other end of the hall. So that's exciting news. And I want to say that I asked people what they wanted to hear about tonight, and the main theme was, how can we help? And so I am going to share some ways that you can help. And I want to say that I know that people, and even people on this call, shout out Francis Webster, Michael Reeves, people on this call help all the time. So people are already helping, but if this is new for you, here are many ways that you can help. So making sure that the university's records are accurate for your email and your job is one of the most helpful things you can do. It's cheap, easy, and free, and you can do it. And why that's helpful is then those records are fed into the Swanee Gateway, and students use that often to try to find, is there an alum who works at company X or organization Y? And if Swanee doesn't know that you work there, or if they know that you work there and we don't have your email address, there's friction. So that is one of the most important things you can do. Respond. When students reach out and ask for 20 or 30 minutes of your time to hear about your career and hear your advice, it really means the world when you respond. And I know that you do, because we hear reports back every single week. If you're on LinkedIn, there is a Swanee Alumni and Parents group. People who are within the group together can message each other and get around LinkedIn's limits. So that's why it's important to be in the group, because then students can message you or fellow alums can message you. If you can influence hiring or where your employer posts jobs, we would love to talk with you. If you can't do that, but you know some great openings, either internships or jobs, you can still let us know. And we set up a Slack channel, for example, for seniors, where we're sharing hot job leads, where Swanee alums can help. So you can help in that way. And then the final ways that you can help, thanks to partnership with Susan and the Alumni Office, we have, through the Swanee Gateway, a platform called Brazen, and it allows text and video chats. So we're going to host our next one on May 4th at 5 p.m. There will be industry kind of buckets or rooms. You'll go in there and then you will either identify as a networking helper or a job seeker. And this is not limited only to seniors. If the pandemic has impacted you and you are seeking, or even if you've still got a job but you'd like a new one, you can participate in that. And I'll put info in the chat about that, and we'll ask Susan, maybe she'll send it out to all alums. When graduates move to your city, you can help. You can get organized with the other alums in your city and help welcome new graduates who have just moved there so that they feel connected to Swanee wherever they are. And then finally, I will add my word of request to Whitney's words about Tiger Tuesday and year round. You know, there are people who have given endowed funds. There are people who have given Cornerstone funds for internships. Some of you are on this call, thank you. And then there are others who, you know, young alums who give $10 a month for internship support. Every single dollar of it matters so much and helps prepare students for careers and futures and level the playing field. So you can give for internship and research opportunities, and that's great. We've added 2 new ways that you can give this year. The first is a career opportunity fund. We hope to raise thousands for that, quite frankly. That then will allow students to apply if they need money to buy a suit, if they need money to sit for the LSAT, if they'd like to attend a conference when we do those things again, but yet they're not a presenter. If they need to travel for an interview, they can apply for funding. And so I'm so happy that we have that opportunity now. And then lastly, the programming fund. You know, it's hard to get them ready without the programming support to get them there. So those are the things that I wanted to share. And Susan, you'll let me know if there are questions. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate everything that you do.
Fantastic. Kim, your office, y'all are omnipresent. You're everywhere the students are. I've seen you in McClurg. I've seen you out by the library. I've seen you in the SPO. You guys are awesome and provide so much for our current students. So thank you for sharing all that exciting news. There was one question. Now, parents are certainly a big help as well. And I think we have a few parents on here asking, can they participate too?
Yes, those definitely, please
Yes.
do.
Great, fantastic. All right, well, I am going to now let Mark Webb take over and answer so many questions that he got. He is the director of athletics and he's been here 30-something years, I think.
No, Susan,
Not quite.
Susan, no, 26 years. And let me just say that year 26 has been so different than years 1 through 25. It's been an interesting time, that's for sure. In athletics in the Fowler Center on the mountain. And I guess I need to start back a little over a year ago when all this was breaking out. And I remember we were getting ready for spring break. And I remember John Shackelford was in my office, Marty Waters, our lacrosse coach at the time, and we were talking about these spring break trips and, should we go? And, and our coaches, obviously they're very competitive. We've got to do this. We've got to give our student athletes a great experience. And I remember saying something to Coach Shackelford about the Indian Wells tennis tournament in Southern California being canceled, which was kind of an eye opener to everybody. And so, we shut down our spring break trips. And I remember the men's lacrosse team was supposed to go to Birmingham Southern on a Friday. And I just said, we're not going. And then everything was pretty much locked down. And Fowler Center too. We were locked down in Fowler for maybe 2 months. Then we opened it up to faculty and staff probably early August. And so we went through this 3-phase resocialization that the Ncaa recommended. And throughout the semester, and understand with many, many things, there's no playbook or there's no game plan on how to manage a department like this during a pandemic. And so everybody was trying to figure things out. But in the fall, everybody was more or less on the same page. Athletic competitions basically canceled. And I've got to give our coaches great credit for the creativity they had to keep our student athletes engaged. Everybody was practicing and we were all over, and especially our training room. We want to give them a lot of credit for taking care of our student athletes. But everybody, again, was on the same page. There weren't, no competitions, and we were kind of waiting to see how things would be in December and then January. And we made the call that we would only play home competitions, yet we would fund the travel for visiting teams that wanted to come if they would follow our testing protocols that our public health recommended. And so we did that. And that was, it's worked. We've given the teams that have wanted to play some competitions. And I think we've had probably 60 competitions this spring in different sports. And I'll get to those in just a second. But it hasn't been without its challenges. And then when we had the issue at the lacrosse match, that created something that was overlaid on top of everything we were going through. And we lost competitions. And so it made it much more challenging. And our coaches had to be much more creative as we try to finish the year. We have had, as I mentioned, 60 competitions. We did have 2 senior swimmers and 1 swimmer and a diver go to the conference championship. First question I had, I didn't think anybody could travel. Well, at the time, an athlete was allowed to travel to a championship if they were a senior and they quarantined afterwards. So that we had 2 go, and Paisley Simmons was the conference diver of the year. So that was a great thing. We have had baseball games. We had a number of games canceled, but we did open up against Covenant College about 3 weeks ago. Our pitchers, Logan Martin and Jake Pendergraft, pitched a combined no-hitter. And I'm trying to go back into the annals of Swanee athletics. I think baseball goes back to 1873 off and on. And we can't find where we've pitched a no-hitter. So if baseball alums could let me know when that happened, I would appreciate that. But that's quite a stellar feat. This last weekend, men's golf defeated Rhodes College at home on our golf course. Rhodes was ranked 24th, and we won by 13 strokes. And I think the men's golf team is going to contend for the conference title. They will be able to go in a couple of weeks to Atlanta. As I mentioned earlier, we're only doing home competitions, so most team sports play regular season competitions in the conference to work out seeding for championships. In golf and track, there is no seeding. It's an invitational. So they would be able to go if our testing protocols can be followed. And we do, if we have to quarantine, and maybe by that time our bubble will be popped if we have 1,200 students vaccinated, so they won't have to quarantine. But those are two options for our student athletes. Thrilled. Tennis has done well, continued to do well. Ncaa Shackelford, the winningest coach in Division III, has a chance to pick up her 600th win in a couple of weeks. I think we played Tennessee Wesleyan. This weekend we have football, volleyball, and baseball. This past weekend we had baseball and football at the same time, and I think that's the first time in our history that we've had those two sports on the same day. So that was very interesting. And let me say this about football. Obviously, we didn't have any fans. Everyone who attended, AD, coaches, trainers, statisticians, video streamers, they all had to be tested. And I'll confess, walking to the field, there was still this buzz as I went to the football field, but it was a little surreal not to have fans in the stands. When the game started, the guys were playing and played quite well, but it was a little bit different not having fans there, and hopefully that can change by the fall. We're also hosting the Ncaa Division III Tennis Championship in Chattanooga in late May. It was supposed to be in Southern California, I think at Claremont, and they decided that they're not hosting any Ncaa championships. And so we hosted this about 3 or 4 years ago, and John and Conchi and Felix, all did a great job with it, and they asked us to do it again. So we agreed. So we'll be hosting that in Chattanooga with the city of Chattanooga. We have some new personnel in athletics. We have a new women's soccer coach. He's not exactly new, but he just hasn't coached much yet because we've been shut down. Greg Cathell, who came from Centenary College. And of course, those of you who live in Swanee know Nick DiBernardo, he was our assistant men's lacrosse coach, interim men's lacrosse coach, and was named men's lacrosse coach. We have 5 new assistant coaches, 3 of them Sewanee alums. Michelle Thibodeau is helping Merritt Yaki in softball. Mason Hain comes to us from Center College. He's a Sewanee alum, and he is helping with men's lacrosse. Lee Menifee, most recently at Birmingham Southern, he's played football here for the Tigers. And then Jen Leahy, who attended Berry and coached at Ferrum, is helping with women's lacrosse. And then Nate Burns, who was at Swarthmore as an assistant baseball coach. He's an outstanding pitching coach. And our pitching for the baseball team has really, really taken off, and really pleased with how that has progressed. Academically, we had 137 student athletes named to the Dean's List in the Advent semester. Softball had the highest GPA in athletics at 3.78, with men's cross country leading the men at 3.58. And then cross country, field hockey, swimming, and diving all won national academic awards. And Leanne touched on recruiting earlier, and I appreciate the shout out to our coaches who do a great job. I looked at our slate, and it looked like we had 145 deposits thus far from athletic prospects. Included in that, those of you interested in football, I think there were about 30. Last year, we were around 180, 185, and I think we'll get another 35 or 40. And obviously, I talk to coaches every day about recruiting, and they say that recruiting is still strong, that people are really interested in being here, and I'm pleased to hear that. For the fall, I hope the Vice Chancellor spoke at a coffee with a coach, that are these Monday morning sessions down at the Blue Chair with Jimmy Wilson, with when coaches or the Vice Chancellor or AD will go down and talk. And he said he hoped that we would know by July 4th what the fall would look like in terms of athletics. I know we'll get started in August. What I'm hearing is, with a lot of people vaccinated, pressing forward. We may be wearing masks, but we're planning for a fall like it's a normal fall. In terms of competition, I know our soccer programs are really going to be strong in the fall. Obviously, they've played a few games now. I know our men's team tied with Oglethorpe University, which is tied for the lead in the conference. I think our women are going to be really strong too, as are other teams. Thank you for all you do for Sewanee Athletics. Thank you. The YSR Club has been huge. We started this 13 years ago. I think in the financial downturn, we thought we've got to figure out some other revenue streams for athletics. And this thing has really been great, including some turf that was restricted for baseball last year. I think we hit about $1 million, which is great for this YSR club. So thank you all very, very much. We are pressing on. We've got about 3 more weeks of competition, and we've got some recruiting to do, and then a lot of planning for the fall. And I know some of our coaches are going to have camps this summer. And I'm happy to answer whatever questions, Susan, if you want to play those out. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, you covered a lot. I am going to have to ask you about a question that was very common ahead of time, and I'm sure many people want to know, but people have heard about the incident at the lacrosse game. And if you don't mind, I know you can't share a lot, but can you just, so that they have the actual facts of what happened, explain that, and then where that investigation stands?
Yeah, the investigation's outside of athletics. And so there are 3 individuals who are very capable, and there's no telling how many hours they've spent on this. And my strong belief is they're reporting directly to the vice chancellor, who says that no rock will be, that all rocks will be turned over to figure out who did this. There have been a lot of rumors and a lot of speculation. And as far as I know, I haven't heard names yet. I know the group of investigators have met, obviously, with me, with the 2 game managers who were there sitting behind the students, with the lacrosse teams, with the coaches, with anybody who was seen at the match and their name has been given to that group. They have met with them as well. So it is a very sordid affair, and we are dealing with a lot of fallout because of that with our conference. And but as coaches will tell me, it's awful on every level. But this community is probably going to be safer for having gone through this and recognize our fault and moving forward. So I don't have any results now. I don't have any names. I know the investigation is ongoing. Hopefully it'll wrap up soon. Thank
you for that.
Yeah.
And someone said if they played 2 sports and they are both happening in the spring, I guess they had to choose which sport they would play? If you're football and baseball?
Oh, yeah. It would be hard. I mean, you could play football and baseball in a regular year. You probably couldn't do that during the same season. That would be very challenging. They take a lot of time. It's as talented as somebody may be academically or athletically. It would be a struggle. So yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for that update. You have really kind of made the most of a very wacky year. And I know you mentioned the athletes, but they are the ones who have just, they have put in the work and they have stuck with it. And it's really impressive to watch.
Thank you, Susan. I just want to give a huge shout out to the coaches. I mean, this is not easy to go through. And they have been so creative, even after the lacrosse incident and their teams in the conference that dropped us because they didn't want to come play us on the mountain. And our coaches, Nick DiBernardo and Michelle Dombrowski, met and thought, we've got to give these players an experience. And kind of at that week, there wasn't a whole lot of joy, obviously, in the Fowler Center. So, what can we do? And what they did was put together a co-ed match where you had men and women on the purple team, men and women on the white team, and then they played each other, and they had a great time. But the effects are felt throughout. And so we'll have to deal with it and move forward. And hopefully this investigation will be resolved soon and we can become more in line with the conference and other NCAA schools in the fall. But thank you very much for the time.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Well, we have a few minutes left, and so I thought I'd try to dive into some of the questions that you guys asked that didn't relate to these topics. One of them was, tell us what the Alumni Office has done since you haven't been able to host events. And, you know, we have tried to be really creative, and we've had a lot of these Zoom meetings. We've had them by class age ranges. We've had lots of them with the Vice Chancellor, which gives you direct access to him, and partnered with Kim in the Career Center to have some events when our seniors last year were graduating in the wackiest of times. And you guys, you know, joined and helped with that. We also were able to celebrate 55 years of Black alumni at Swanee. And while that was totally supposed to be an in-person event, 2020 was the year to celebrate 55 years. We just didn't want to wait any longer. And so we celebrated that throughout the year and culminated with a series of events in February. And so that was good to be able to do that. We also, you know, started a book club that was very well received. And we need a new book. So if you have an idea and maybe a faculty member or an author that's Swanee related that you want us to do as our next book, let me know. But here's some of the other questions. One of them is that you were watching PBS and saw Tim O'Brien wearing a Swanee hat. It was the Ken Burns series, and they were interviewing Tim O'Brien, and he was wearing a Swanee hat. And many of you are wondering what the connection is. And he has spent several summers at the Swanee Writers Conference, and he actually has also received an honorary degree here. So that was fun to see. How many people registered for this event tonight? There were 184 people. So it makes me think we will do some more of these. We're thinking about the next one, maybe having some students and faculty members to get news from those areas. But I want to hear from you, whatever you guys want. Send me those ideas, and we'll be happy to do it. Mark talked a little bit about the COVID outlook, but the most immediate part of that is that with the vaccine out, we're just distributing, giving the vaccine right here on campus to students. We're also providing ways for them to get them in other places. And so they have put the challenge out there, if we get 1,200 people vaccinated, we will release the bubble. And that means students will be able to maybe get a visit from their parents, or here's one of the best things they want to do is go to Mont Eagle to Sonic. But anyway, that's some hopeful news in the future, the very near future. And if we don't do it before graduation, the bubble will pop for graduation. We are so excited to be able to offer as close to a normal commencement as possible. We're going to allow guests, we're going to allow parties. It will be outside on the football field though. But outside of that, we're planning to really, really celebrate that special occasion at the end of May. Someone did ask, and I want to answer the question, why were we in the press again in the Washington Post today? If you have not seen it, it's the almost identical article about the incidents on campus that the Vice Chancellor shared in his Growing in Grace remarks in All Saints Chapel about the acts that happened at his home at Chen Hall, and then included the acts of racial slurs at the lacrosse match. And it had come out about 3 weeks ago, but it was the digital version. This time they've rerun that story in their print edition, and we just learned of it last night that they were going to do that. But so I wanted to answer that question, even though it's an unpleasant one to answer. And so I guess that's about it. And we've loved being with you. And I see it's right at 7 o'clock. And if you have any questions that we didn't answer, let me know, and I will follow up with you. And let me know again what you'd like to see next, and about the next book you'd like to join with the book club. Anybody else have anything they want to say? All righty. Well, thank you guys.
I saw some questions in the chat, in the Q&A box, and I went in and added answers. So I just wanted to say that about Swanee Dining and the parents with internships. So
great. Fantastic. Well, it's great to be with everybody. And I want to thank our panelists here for taking their time. And I know it's after hours, but they did not hesitate to say yes when I asked them to do this. They wanted to be with you all, and so did I. So I'll let you know when we have the next one lined up. But thank you guys. Have a great weekend.